This is what the people of the Matrix and those that support and are part of these groups or whatever they are support. They support animals being suppressed and brought to nothing. Well, you'd say it's my animal, but no, but it's not me that technologically makes a dog have seizures. And of course it's a set-up reality, so everyone concerned, yes, sometimes we indirectly are actually playing with the Matrix. I have indirectly played with the Matrix most of my life, and I openly say that, even though I'm not particularly happy to say it, of course. But until you can accept the actual reality and how you've been part of it, you really then keep playing. And I would still be playing if the Matrix hadn't have turned totally on me, I have to say that. I probably might not be playing as negatively as what I had in the past, and maybe that's why the Matrix turned on me. Because if you make a decision, and some people say this is where the spiritual side does come in. Some people have said this, that if you make a decision to just behave or live your life as best you can as a real human, in other words, to not do too much harm in this reality to other humans and even to other life forms if they are real life forms, but you have to respect and assume that even what you have is I think he's just peed there. Actually, I nearly went in that. Jeez, it gets me every time, I have to admit. I'm trying to have humour about it, but if you think this is one big mess here, that's because this is really a dog's house, not my house. And dog backwards, I was told by its owner, is God, and actually I suppose it is, if now that that had never occurred to me. So even though this dog has been brought and reduced to nothing, and can't even see, can hardly walk now. It is 16 years old though, which is like probably about 100 for a dog anyway. But I say that if there was no Matrix, this dog would still be walking down the street because he was blessed. The original dog was blessed with incredible athletic bodily genes. Like at a body level, this dog when it was younger was very, very, very not just fit. So he can't even sit down properly at the moment there, and I can't actually help him with that. I'll let him do that himself. But that's a new little bed there. That's because, the reason the place looks a total mess for an animal, even though he's really in a way given full priority, because he basically is destroying the beds that we buy, almost at a astronomical rate, because if you do your business all over the beds, daily, eventually, you have to throw the beds away, and they're getting thrown away and replaced, and that's why we're only getting the very minimal now. He used to have a great big huge thing that took up the whole room almost that he had at one stage, and he destroyed it, or it was destroyed due to Matrix infiltration, I say. I don't think the real symbol would have done that without interference from the Matrix, because even if the Matrix is sending negative frequencies at your animals, they will be agitated, so they'll do destructive things, unintentionally even. That's putting the Matrix in a very good light. That is seeing the Matrix at its lowest level. I don't think to say that even about the Simba dog is not what I would say is the true story, or the full picture, as my father used to say. He used to always say, I got to put you in the full picture. Strangely enough, he wasn't in the full picture, but he was always wanting to put everyone else in it. I do hope I'm not like that. I do hope I've got a bit of the picture anyway. But at any rate, I'm cold. Oh dear, I can feel the cold. I should put that jacket on, really, but I can't because I got the mobile. I'm in a pickle. You're seeing more of me than the street. But look, Big Boy Cat's come up. There he is. There he is. Perhaps I might bring him in. Want to come in? Want to come in, big boy? It's not supposed to be. You're not supposed to have your supermarket open quite so early, because this is not supposed to be a cat video. I'm supposed to be going out in the street, but look, it's dead. Apart from those houses that have got their lights on openly in front of me there, which they never do. See how they got that openly in front? I don't know if I'm getting all this in. The problem is, I don't know if I'm getting it in. I should have it turned around. Now I'm getting agitated because I know that I am not doing anything proper. And this video is not only candid but now becoming all over the place. What happened to my tourist guide to Henry Street, Leichhardt? For those of you that are overseas that might actually want to come to this lovely suburb and experience the Matrix on a daily basis, I can't help but laugh. Who in their right mind would want to come here? I don't blame you for staying where you are, because even if it's not very good, I'm sure that I don't think it could be as negative as here. And maybe it is. I don't know. I do hope not. The old saying, wouldn't wish it on your worst. Well, there's my little, there he is. Say hello. That is, Big Boy Cat, as we well know. And he's got his supermarket open. Now, Big Boy, it's too early. This video is going to please the Matrix, because we're now going to make mockery of everything, because you've come in and we're now going to open up our mini supermarket. And we're not supposed to be doing this. We're supposed to be making a serious video, aren't we? You say you don't care for serious because you are of the Matrix. He clicked his foot up. See how he moved his foot up when I was about to say he's of the Matrix too? Look, we're not supposed to be doing we've done the possessed cat video, but he just moved his foot up again as if to say no. He's moved it up twice as if to say no, we're going to do another one. He's really tempting me to do another possessed cat video. And it doesn't make me very popular. And I know why too, but there we go. I can't even see what I'm filming. Is he coming out? There he is. He just lifted his little foot up there, as if to say he's got satisfaction, because I should be out on the little street there, just out in front. Because I'll probably miss a Matrix plane. See, he put his leg up. Yes, you will. He said, I've tricked you. See, even my friend the cat sidetracks me. Sidetracked by the Matrix. They will have their way. That's Big Boy Cat. Now, okay. And if the wrong people watch this video, I get into trouble. Moved his foot, see? And I only hope that I'm safe to make it. Only in the sense that I am not here, as you know, to cause a problem to anyone. This is purely Big Boy lifted his foot. It is purely, when he lifts his foot, that means an acknowledgement. At least to me it does. And I read the cat, and that's not something that even those that agree with possession would understand. You would have to be with a cat for years, so he moved his foot up again, to understand this, or to you know yourself. If you had an animal yourself, you would know this. I don't know if I'm getting him in. But he's got his. Okay, so he's got his mini supermarket going again, and he's going to have a drink. Are you going to have a drink? No, you only drink milk. You don't drink much milk either, do you? No, but we do have lactose-free milk for you, which cats are only really supposed to have lactose-free milk. So he is selling, yes, the lactose-free milk. I should be careful. Maybe I'm breaching copyright here, like when I downloaded the video. Yes, because I'm advertising. Yes. Then we have you can have some disinfectant, you can have some tins, you can have some big boy you're selling, and there's milk there and drinks. And we've even got antiseptic wedged between the drinks, and we've got the usual tin stuff and tissues and all sorts of things. And we've got a fridge here. We've got all this stuff here if you want it. We'll sell that to you, won't we, Putty? You're going to sell it a reasonable price? Yeah? Or you're going to rip them off? Matrix likes to rip us all off in every way. Matrix rips us off at every level, every day. But you have to expect that because it's a matrix, and naturally it's out to, make its matrix flourish. It's feeding its matrix. It's not interested in feeding me, not really even interested in feeding the cat. And he lifted his leg up when I said that, there again. So you must watch the legs. Because if he just moves his foot a little bit, that means an acknowledgement. I'm just showing you how it works if you're communicating and you've chosen to communicate accidentally, as I did, with a possessed animal. And we got the Matrix ones coming now. See, we've got the Matrix little car with its lights there. Yeah, but we won't focus too long on it, or will we? Oh, yeah. They've turned their lights off. Usually they leave their lights on for quite a while. And that depends on if they're going into the house or if they're just someone who decides to, who is a Matrix, a Matrix, I'm trying to find the right words, a Matrix wanderer, shall we say. See, I'm trying to be nice here. In other words, that they're just one that comes into a street that they've never been into before, and they just pull up and sit in their car for a period of time and then just pull away. Whereas the local Matrix ones, they pull in, sit in their car for a briefer period of time, sometimes not even long, but they leave their lights on and then they go into their house. But they will pull in and out around you, shall we say. So that's how the Matrix works. That's what a local Matrix, how it works. Is that right, Putty? Is it right? Is that correct? You won't get any chicken if you're going to play for the Matrix totally. You could at least just show them you're of the Matrix, aren't you? You're possessed, aren't you? Are you something else altogether? Yes, there we go. Did you see that? Did I get it? Something else altogether. Well, I'm not going to say it's not disturbing to me. It's very disturbing to me, and it makes me angry if I dwell on the past in particular. But like I say, this is all I'm left with. And Big Boy got up there and moved when I said that. He knows I'm angry about the past. He knows I'm angry. Even though I'm now used to a substitute. Because that's what it is, a substitute. I'm now used to a substitute. Yes, see the paw going up? He knows I'm used to a substitute. He wants me. He knows. He's like, as long as you feed me and give me the same as what you gave the original Big Boy cat, he's quite happy. In fact, this cat actually does better than the original Big Boy cat sometimes, because he gets the best chicken, because I have to get it for the dog. So he gets chicken breast, barbecue chicken every day. Whereas, admittedly, I did feed the original cat the top stuff too. But in smaller quantities because he was fed by 2 people at that time. But the old lady that used to also feed him and liked him an incredible amount, she used to feed him the best, they're Matrix people pulling in. There they are. See, let's go out and see this Matrix. I've had it. Okay, that's it. I've had it. We're going to go and see this Matrix. Pulling in, see? I come out, that car is pulling in opposite. So far we've had 3 lots of cars pull around me. We've had the one next door, the one 2 across the road, pulling in just at the time. Now that is the Matrix, okay? Now I don't know if I'm getting it in, and I'm just going to stand here with my back to it because I'm not going to look at the people. I'm going to try, and it's dark here too, but I'll pretend to go to the letterbox. That way I don't look too obvious, even though they can see I'm holding the mobile. This is ridiculous life, as you can imagine, to be doing this when we're supposed to be living, and instead I'm out here in the freezing cold. I'm actually probably end up, you could almost get pneumonia out here. I haven't got a thing in. Police siren going. That must be red alert for somebody. I do hope it's not me. I don't know if that's coming out on the mobile, but it's quite a loud police siren. It's just gone. Sounds as though it's relatively close, but actually you can hear some of them. They're so loud even from streets and streets away, which is amazing. Oh, it is cold out here. Yeah, so they've opened up the window on the front of that house over there too. I hope you can see it. You can't see it, but they've actually opened the window up as well as all the front today, which they've never done. Because don't forget that's the back part of the house, really. Normally at this time, like myself, I wouldn't be up in my bedroom at this time unless I'm going to bed, and very few people go to bed as soon as the sun goes down, as you know, because it's only just gone down. It's only just been dark for quite a little tiny bit. In fact, I was hoping to... a little bit of possum here tonight. But yeah, I expect that though. Where's a Matrix plane though? That we would like to see a Matrix plane, but see, the planes were heavier last night, which was interesting when I didn't have the mobile and when I went outside just for a bit. That's interesting. Oh, there we have the moon. Can I get it in? I don't know if it's coming out. It's probably not coming out. Little moon. Not particularly impressive because it hasn't got anything round it or anything to make it big. I might have to go in because I'm so cold. I don't think I can stay out here, even if I know that, playing possum. I don't think they'll be able to resist it for too long, though. I just heard can you hear those horns beeping? That's acknowledging. That's saying yeah. Because see, it's a combination system. It has to be with all this like that. You see what I'm saying? So it's not just a few individuals or a few random people that like if I was back in the old world, I'd just say, there's a few people that for some reason don't like you or something. You'd almost think that. That's what I originally when the Matrix first opened up, that's what I thought, of course. As you probably did, if you're in a similar predicament, you probably go through all the stages of wondering what is happening to your local world, and then you realise that it's bigger than just local, but for all practical purposes, everything converges around you. So it is mainly local at the moment because, but if I went out of the local vicinity, I would take the Matrix with me to some extent. It just would depend on what their resources are and how well planned they are. But then again, they would know in advance that I was going to do that because my thinking would, unless I do something completely in the blink of an eye, you cannot catch the Matrix out, because if you're going to go somewhere, you would plan it. You would at least plan it. You wouldn't just walk out your door and go wandering off anywhere. You have to yourself. So they already know what you're going to do before you do it, more or less, so they can get all their operatives, that's a good word, their players, actors, whatever words you want to use, that's probably more correct. But, whether they are direct disciples, I would say, of the Earth Matrix and the God entity, all that's another question. I would say that it's a I don't know that. And that might also depend, that depends on so many things. But certainly everyone would be played at different levels. So there's the bus going down there, but you can't see it. If I went down there, the bus is just on the corner there, because this is a dead-end street, and it's also dead-end what goes past down on a cross street. Well, there you have someone coming up from just at the back of my place there, you see. And this is like night time, so, just going for the bike. This is just coincidence, but is it? How come everyone just, like I said, there's only a few places down there anyway, a couple. But at any rate, my point being that, I'm not sure what the point is. I think I better go back and do the cat mark. Not too much happening here, but the buses that are... See, there's another bus just went past now, but you can't see them on the thing. But I can just fleetingly see it. But either way, it's really meant for when I actually go down there. That's just like on the corner. And I can see them going up and down. This I just have to come inside. It's actually too cold. Oh, what about a plane, though? They'll probably start up as soon as I go inside or a bit later, because it's strange not to have any planes, especially at this time, because normally this would be their more busy time. In the past it used to be like their peak time almost, although to be honest they did go from 5 o'clock in the morning right through till 11 o'clock at night, and they were allowed to do that. They weren't allowed to actually go after 11 o'clock. I myself actually occasionally saw a plane after that time. That was like part of the Matrix, like a bit like if you saw the odd helicopter, which you don't see very often, but it does happen. It has happened. That's when you're in a different spot, or when there's less other stuff. I'm not sure. It's all just it's all part of their fun and games. If you like playing games, and if you are part of all this, then it is just all fun and games for you. But if you're not part of it and you don't like games, especially when you are almost like the prey in the game, no, it's it's definitely not fun and games. But I have to go inside because I'm having trouble holding the mobile, and that's interesting, because that shows something, that if Matrix people or around here are frightened to be on the... Oh, the cats just went outside. There he is, he's going. There he is. He'll come back, he'll just sit there. We could go on his little thing over there if it gets a bit cold, because it will get cold. I'm actually too cold, otherwise I'm quite willing to stay out here, but it's actually too cold. It's pretty dark too, I don't think you can see me, but there's not a plane, and the street is now completely clear. Now, all I can say is that even yesterday, when I come out here at this time, the street was not dead for more than... Well, all I'm saying is there was always a car on the street. It wasn't like it was like huge traffic thing, no. But it was never like this, where you basically haven't got anything. And they are playing possum once again. There's a lot of... there's a light flickering down there, but that won't come out on the thing. Oh, we have got a car coming down now, I think. Or is that a car just flashing its lights down there? I'm not sure, to be honest. But I'll have to go inside. Oh yeah, they've turned them on and off. But I'm not even. I haven't. I've got the camera just focused in front. Maybe that might. I'm not sure. That will probably bother the people. But I don't think I'll be putting this one out. But I was hoping for a plane, but not. Oh, there is a plane actually over there, but you can't see it. It's so small. See how it's so small? Oh, there we have. Oh, yeah, we have got a Matrix car after all. But there is a little plane over there in the distance, but I definitely won't come out on the mobile because it's far too tiny. They have to come right over my head here, and even the ones now are smaller planes, so they're not coming out too well. So that car just goes down to the dead end there, which is only just a couple of doors down, and just will pull up. So far, I've come out here and we've got like one house where they've pulled in, two opposite, one down the back, actually two down the back. I think a car did go past as well, but that matters not. And that's actually very limited, really. But you're still looking at, and you've got the house, and of course opposite. Both of them come in opposite when I first come out with the thing. So that's just showing the matrix very small. I'll have to come in. Oh, here we have another one coming down. Yeah, another one coming down. They're not too shy after all. They're starting to get. I think you saw that was the same one going back. So they just went round the block on the bike and then come back in. And then we have another one pulling down the back. So you've only got a few houses down there, and this one may or may not. Actually, I'll just stand with my back to it so they can't see me. If I can, I'm freezing. But they're just going to, see, they're not even going to pull up. They're just going to go past. Or are they? What are they doing? I can't even see. Okay, so there we go. Notice how they dawdled as they went past me. Oh, there's a Matrix plane over there. I don't know whether you can see it, probably not. It's shy too. Why isn't it coming over me? It's very in the distance there. That car's just going to pull up over there now, you see. So it's just going to be in the distance lurking around. And that's outside of a church, so there's nothing for them to pull up there. There's no house there. And the church is certainly not open. So that is interesting. And they're not part of the church, so, But that's just pointing out. Oh, there's the plane. See it over there? Very quiet. Very unimpressive. Even the planes don't want to show themselves. See, they don't want to show, that there is a combined matrix. That's the point. I have to go inside because I'm freezing out here. So I have to do it from the door because I can't stay out here. It's just too cold. I haven't got a jacket on and I'm not so young. And something smells horrible in here too. I think the dog has not only done the pee, but that doesn't worry me, but I think there's other stuff too. Even Lo, I offered him to go outside, but it's just all part of the thing, the animals are controlled, more or less. That sounds strange to some people, but it is a fact. Now, I don't care what anyone says. I'm trying to get this glove off. It's stuck. I can't get it off. Oh, dear. Sorry about that. This is so unprofessional. I mean, if I was going to show, even if I was doing my little tourist guide to the street, that would be a complete dismal failure at this point. And showing the matrix at this point is also a dismal failure, as you can see, because the matrix is up on it all, and I'm really not showing anything. And it's not even interesting because we haven't got the planes going over. And we didn't even do the cat mart very well, because we didn't do that either. Now, just hold on. So just hold on. Hold on. Oh, it's so cold out there. That's another point too, is that it's not relevant, but a few weeks ago when we had terrible, terrible weather, and I actually did go down the road, and I was caught in the middle of the storm. It was a storm. The gale was blowing up and the rain came down. It was awful. It really was. I was actually chilled to my bone, literally. And I really felt terrible. And, and that has really happened to me in my actual life. Even when I walked all over the place, at all times in all my life, I rarely got caught in bad weather to where I was drenched. I always knew how to avoid that. These days I don't seem to be able to manage it. So that is interesting. But either way, we've got the banging of the bins there, so I can't talk. I'm sorry about that. That's just, more people around. Like, the amount of people that swarm around Leichhardt up and down the streets, in comparison with the number of places. And the reality that everyone seems to be active in every shop and every house almost, that can mean many things. But from an observer's point of view and from a practical point of view yourself, it really, shows or gives the impression, that everyone is all in with the Matrix, and unless you see it at a 24-hour level, you probably wouldn't notice this because, that's what I say, even if you actually film something, to most people, because I've actually seen other people do this when it was shown to me. That's how I decided to just go outside the door. And I do have people out there now banging around, so that is making me lower my voice so you can't hear me, And then if I go and slam the door, then I can't get out quickly again in case there's a plane or something. And so it just makes me look like an idiot, basically. And as you can see, I'm getting angry because, you sort of think, oh, I'll show at least, because I actually said before I started this video, I'm not going to talk too much. I'm going to just take it easy and just say this is a tourist guide view to the Matrix of of Leichhardt or Henry Street, because that's as far as I'm going. But it's all over Leichhardt. And it's not just Leichhardt too, because when the Matrix first opened up, or when things were starting to, when you realised you were, let's just say that if you thought you were being trailed or followed in any way, if you go down a back street or an alley, like late of a night, very late of a night, where there normally would be nothing, and then you are shown that the Matrix is still there or watching. Like, for instance, a good example of that would be very early on when the Matrix opened up and I was frantically running around streets trying to find somewhere to show that I could be on my own for a second in a street, because that would have been normal before the Matrix, opened up and showed its true hand, shall we say. But, people put one bin out, but instead then they move the bin up and down and all over the place like that. Fella's been out there now for all that time, just, like it should take 2 seconds to just push your bin out, leave it and go. But no, he's moving all the bins around and bringing more backwards and forwards and all this sort of stuff. Just, that's because they're of the Matrix. Now, whether they're, they are conscious of it. I would say they're conscious of it because, I've spoken to all these people, and sure, they want to play it. They play it. They're playing both sides of the fence because then if anything happens, they're in the clear. Like even with myself, they pretend to be friendly to me because if they showed they were an enemy and then things happen, or if someone else was involved, because it's all about keeping this game and keeping it a big secret, and it is played very cleverly. It is played so cleverly. It's a mastermind game. And even if you think you're a genius little human, you're just up against too many and too much of a force against you. Because even if you're like myself, where you can sometimes see it even quite clearly, and you can even see yourself being drawn into something sometimes, you almost can't resist it. Because it appears to be the reality. So you can't just ignore it. Or at least you can ignore it a fair amount of the time, but you can't ignore it all the time. You will get suckered in or drawn into a confrontation of some sort, or an interaction with Matrix people one way or the other. Sometimes you'll handle it better than others. That's really all I can say. That's how I look at it after things have always happened. And your good intentions, you say, what will happen here? What can you do? You almost, and you can't know what's going to happen down the track either. That's another point. But suffice to say that most things are certainly not in a human being's favour in the Matrix. Now, I might try and take the mobile out again. See, the Matrix is... You notice how the Matrix has controlled me just during the course of this video? Because I went outside and then I come inside. The cat brought me into the kitchen. See, none of it was how it was meant to be, where I was just meant to go outside and stay in the one spot for a bit. I hope this doesn't matter to anyone, but... There's some screeching brakes out there too, but none of these things come out on the video. I'm waiting for the garbage banger out there to go back into their house here or wherever. Because as much as I don't mind interacting with Matrix people, it does make you feel kind of... I have to admit that to be interacting with actors only most of the time, it does get to you, especially for someone like myself, because I actually prefer to just, to be a little bit on the level. I can't be bothered with too much pretense. I never have been very much like that, I've never been big even on formalities, I think I've mentioned that in previous videos, where little things used to annoy me when people, that idea of going into a shop, as I've said, where every person always says, hello, how are you? That's just part of this stage reality, but they're told to do that, but we know that. And if you worked in a shop, you would be just told to do that. But, back in the old days, there wasn't, when I say the old days, like many years ago, there wasn't quite as much of that, That's probably because everything was a little bit more real and a bit more personal. But, I could be wrong. But certainly you weren't told to say that to every single person, that comes into your shop, particularly when you're dealing with a lot of people. Most of the time you just serve them. And if you did happen to talk, or if the person talked to you, you might engage them in a conversation. So it would be a lot more on the level, a lot more real, if you know what I mean, or authentic. In other words, you're talking to someone because you want to, not just because you're paid to, which is basically, the thing, and I find that I don't need that even. time. Like, don't waste your energy. Don't waste your energy saying how are you if you're not that interested. If you don't want to, you don't have to. It's a waste of my time and yours. But the Matrix is all about wasted energy and wasted time. So I suppose that's to be expected, really, isn't it? But it's mainly human wasted time and energy. So what am I doing here now? I don't think I'm wasting my time. But if there was no Matrix, I wouldn't be doing it. So it is still consuming my energy, my effort, even though the Matrix probably isn't that keen on it, because they prefer to consume your energy without you consorting, what they would probably consider to be consorting with your fellow human beings. It's all right for them to consort, though. They can consort with every single person around. And they're not openly having a conversation. They're not openly doing anything. They're pretending to, come out of their house. But basically that's just like showing you that you are being watched all the time. It's a watched society that we live in, a watched community, watched at a local level and at a city level, at a street level, at a personal level, and probably at a much, much more level. Of course, it's at a much, much more level because, how much more intrusive is it that this technology reads human thought? I say we're human beings and we're connected, but, is that, but that, even that wouldn't be so bad if you don't have beings that read your thoughts, that are not of your kind, that are not your friend, you see. So that's the thing too. So it's not like you've got your best friend reading your thoughts to where you might say, oh, well, if I think something a bit wrong, it don't matter too much, or whatever. I don't know. Myself, I'm a little bit weary of it and not keen on it anyway. But I don't know what the real reality is meant to be. Or when I say the real reality, I mean apart from this Matrix. Because, you only know the world you've been born into. So you kind of think that, I guess that's because we know that everything is very shifty in the world. You don't want everyone to know what you're thinking, whereas in reality, everyone almost does, or at least everyone that is around you that is not really for you, which is kind of difficult to accept and to understand and to live with. But you have to. I don't know if I'm putting this right, and I'm supposed to be doing a tourist guide to Henry Street, Leichhardt, to show you what a local street in a local suburb of a big city called Sydney is like, just at a street level. And instead I've got very little to show you. But maybe I'll try again. Maybe I won't send this video out. I didn't send out the last one because I had an interaction or a conversation. What started out as a confrontation turned into an interaction and then a kind of conversation with people opposite, because they, was under a misapprehension that because they know they make a lot of noise every time they come in, that they think that you're filming it with the idea of complaining to someone about it, But, whether that is on the level or part of the game, or whether they are being played, but they are also still part of the game, I don't know. I see them all as Matrix people just by the reality that they just randomly always appear at the right time. In other words, when you come out, like that is showing a Matrix, someone who is under Matrix directions at least. Because what are the chances? I say, hey, coincidence, yeah. But it's no coincidence if it happens almost every time you go outside your door. then it gets beyond coincidence, even though many people would say, hey, no, it's still just a coincidence. Maybe you just happen to always go out at the time they pull in, or they go out because you're doing the same time. Well, I say no, because it can be any time of night or day. In other words, like if I went out every day at 5 o'clock on the dot and someone just happens to always and does come home on time at 5 o'clock every day, then you have a plausible explanation for a matrix. Matrix can offer plausible explanations anyway, as I've said. In fact, it usually does. If you ask someone what they're doing, they'll have a plausible explanation. It's just a question of whether you buy it. And it's a question of whether you really know where they're really coming from and where they're really going, because you really don't anyway. And, but there could be, because there could be other elements involved in this reality. It depends on how much how far you want to take it, I suppose. I try not to take it too far. I think that it goes a lot further. I almost know it does, but I still live in this simple reality, so I still focus on that. And that probably is not a good thing to do in a way, to get caught up in the personal when it's really just a matrix, in the sense that if people are doing things in a joint collaborative effort, it's not a personal thing. There's no point in bothering with a one-on-one situation, even though I usually do. Because what's in front of me, you at a real level are obliged to deal with that. Sometimes you have to. And sometimes you think it's in your interest to do that too, even though you know it is matrix playing and matrix players. It's still like, you're like, well, but you like I say, you walk a tightrope in every aspect in this reality, at personal levels, at practical levels, at street level, at local level, neighbourhood level, all levels. And the matrix is just playing you with every resource it has. Even human beings are its resource to be used and played in the matrix in every way, against one another, for the matrix, life, that gives life to the matrix in an energy way. And it also defeats human beings by draining them of their energy, because the less energy you have, the less life you have. I give my life to the matrix. Was I supposed to give it to myself or share it with other human beings? But if I was with another real human being, then there's only support for that life. Another human being shouldn't drain you of life. In fact, it should actually give you life, and you should give life to it, because it is like a joint support almost, you could say. So you're actually empowering one another, whereas the matrix doesn't do that. The matrix takes your power from you, takes your life from you, And that's because most of what around you is matrix people. They're not real life people. They're anti-life. They're matrix operatives, matrix actors, matrix players. Even if they were like the same as yourself, they believe in the matrix. Even if we were just dealing with people like myself that were just human beings, if you believe in the technology, if you believe in the matrix, if you believe in what you're told, if you operate against any of your fellow human beings, you are still playing for the matrix, even at a basic natural level that probably doesn't exist. Just like I say, if you deal with a natural earth, as opposed to realizing that it's really all artificial now, it still doesn't matter. You'd still be playing that same game, and you'd still be defeating yourself and your own human beings, which are the only life really. And if you are prepared to accept substitutes for life, just as the same as if you want to get yourself a life-size robotic type doll to live with you for company or for entertainment, as opposed to having a real person. You've opted for that artificial life, and you've opted for a step away from a real human being and a real reality in a way. And this reality is now not behaving like a real reality. Human beings even assuming, there again, I could be way off here, because you assume there are some human beings amongst things. There are some, but you probably presume there are more than what there actually are. On the other hand, like I say, it's a game, so you're never sure if there still could be the same number of humans. It's just that more Matrix people converge into an area to where you have the delusion or the illusion that there's no humans too. That's certainly the illusion that I've been under. Like I feel as though I'm just surrounded totally by Matrix. Even though I know there are some real humans, but they're not in my actual vicinity, and I can't converse with them. But I know they exist. But they're just not in my particular... In a way, they're not in my life, though. They're like in the reality, and they're around, but I'm not able to interact with them at a personal level. I only interact with Matrix people at every level. And, that's just the reality. The car just went past there down the back too. They just go in and out all day. I'm not sure where they go in and out all to, but they all have cars too. In fact, everyone has a car except me. Almost everyone has a car or a vehicle or some sort of transport except me. So I have to deal with the Matrix on foot, and I'm not as great at the walking as what I used to be or should be, and I emphasise that because I'm no athlete and never have been, but I never had any problem walking around. In fact, could walk for quite a reasonable distance if I needed to or if I wanted to. Not sure if I made that point before, but, I only know because of the past. So, but that, I know that is because of technology. No doubt whatsoever. Just as I know that the animals are possessed. No doubt whatsoever. You know it, I know it. And others that should know it refuse to see it. For the obvious reasons. It's not like it's something you want to know. It is something very hard to deal with, particularly if you are close to animals or close to people. It's very hard to accept. But, if you don't accept it, you also are putting yourself more into delusion and to where you're not really in touch at all with the reality. Not that you'd want to be, I know that, but the thing is that you really do still have to see things as they are, because the Matrix takes advantage of the few humans that are in the dark. Because then you are going to be playing with the Matrix, or the Matrix will take advantage of you. You may not, the real people that are in the dark, assuming there are a certain number, say in Sydney, right? If they knew what the Matrix was, they would not play with it. But because they assume the real world is what it's presented to them, they indirectly play for the Matrix. They could even play against me, and yet if they knew, they would actually not be playing against me. Whereas Matrix people, real Matrix actors and all, they don't care. They've made a conscious effort, a conscious decision to go to acting school, you could say, and some of them have been acting since the day they're born anyway, because if you're psychopathic in nature, you basically don't really ever tend to play your real self very much, usually playing each situation, each person on its own merits. Some are better actors than others. Some have a different persona that they might project, all this sort of stuff. I know because I've seen it in my life. So I don't have to be intellectual psychologist here for this. I've experienced this. I have had lessons in psychopathic psychology since the day I was born from others. And I've nearly ventured into it myself on occasion, because if you don't know that, you play along with it. And sometimes it takes you years to even realise that you have been interacting with psychopaths. You don't know they're psychopaths because you tend to think, oh, they're just, it takes you a while to realise that despite appearances, everything always turns out bad for you, that everything always turns out a negative, and that you tend to be restricted at times when you don't want to be, even though you will buy into explanations that people offer. I've mentioned these examples before, I think, in previous videos, so I won't bore you, and I might try to get outside if I can. That's a plane, I think, but I'm not sure. Oh dear, this is a hopeless video. No wonder I'm stuck in a matrix and all this. See, I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't actually, belittle myself in a way, because that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. But, it's just very, and I shouldn't be saying how hard it is all the time and how this, but is there any point to even showing a matrix, I wonder? Apart from if it stops something, but only stops something temporarily, because, see, if I go out there and they're playing possum, or the matrix decides it doesn't want to be on the tourist guide to Henry Street video, that's only while I am filming the video. So, it's not, I just won't talk too much, okay? Can I just say that I'm not going to do too much talking, I'm just going to stand here? But it's so cold I can't stay out here, that's the trouble. I need a jacket and I was not prepared. Okay, so all I can say is bear in mind that we have a limited number of houses on a small dead-end street. So that means a certain number of cars for each house. Does that make sense? At a practical, real level. I'm playing the Matrix game here now, so I'm going to rationalise everything just temporarily. And Putty has come back to sidetrack me, I think. Oh, you're right, Doug? You coming in or not? What's the matter? There we go. There he is. He's getting hungry. He wants supper. And he's actually, this is awful, but he's gone to the dog bowl and he's eating the few remains of the little bit of dry stuff that the dog has left there, because the dog was actually sick yesterday after eating his chicken and dry food, because he is finding it physically difficult to cope with the Matrix at this late stage of his double life, I would say. By that I mean, I'm not 100% sure with the animals, to be honest, when takeover takes place. I only have my own suggestions or views on that, due to my own experience with the animals. So I might be able to pinpoint times if I think back to when takeovers took place. But Putty, as you can see, is getting stuck into what's left of Simba's dry food there. And that's actually bigger bits because I've got dry cat food there too, but he's actually eating the big dog dry food, which actually is quite good stuff, actually, I might say. I'm not going to do a dry dog food commercial, but it is actually top of the line because the dog is, because the dog has been sick, so had to go in for slightly more upmarket food. That's why the dog gets, chicken breast and stuff every day as well to build him up because, but the cat has always had, because you don't have to feed a cat as much chicken as what you do a big dog, as you can imagine. So it's easy to give the gourmet stuff to a cat without breaking the budget, shall we say. And that's... I'm going to go dramatic here, and I wasn't planning on this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Seeing the cat is there, and I just hope that only the right people are listening to the video, because I don't want to... Look, this is Big Boy Cat, okay? I'll try to get him into the kitchen so you can see him. Big Boy, come on. He doesn't respond to his name, of course. He never has, so that's no big deal whatsoever. In fact, Big Boy's not even his name. I just used to call it to him. His real name was Diesel, but I never saw him as a Diesel. And because he was a big boy cat, or at least at the time he was like that, when I first met him, and after a while I just called him that because if you know something for a while, you start to give it a nickname or something. And normally I'd use the real animal's name, but he just didn't seem like Diesel to me. He just didn't seem like a Diesel somehow, or whatever that means. I don't know. Whereas I call the other cat Zane, it's called Zane. I have no problem with that. And normally it's Simba, same with Simba. But either way, might have to close that door, I think. It's very cold, and I think the planes, I don't know why there's no planes at this time, because you'd at least get a few. But last night, strangely enough, I could have got some quite good planes. But, of course, I didn't have the mobile when I went for a little trot down the road here. Big Boy is going to open his... I wasn't even going to be on this video. I should have had the camera round to where I was just going to film outside. It's getting late too, so I better move it along here a bit. There is Big Boy. He's come back in and he's got his shop open again. He could sell you some of the rubbish food, Because I get depressed, I sometimes need the junk food, which is no good. But see, if I was feeling better at a high vibration, then you can actually get away with even some of that. You actually can. It's some people would say no, the body is the main thing that will lead to it, but I don't. I personally, this just occurred to me yesterday, right? Big Boy, come on. This just occurred to me yesterday. He's going to muck around. Look at him. He's on the stove and everywhere. He normally just sits on there. But he is not behaving at all because he's naughty. Now, you just sit. Come on. Open up your shop. Come on. You going to do that or not? Or are you going to be... You don't want me to tell your story, do you? Well, I'm going to. And I may or may not put it out. Maybe I shouldn't have made any cat videos. I never intended to. I was always only going to talk about nature in the Matrix and the dog. That is actually what I was. I was never going to ever show this cat on a video. Never planned to. It just happened. It happened out of the blue when he come in. And for some reason I felt the urge to... Because I had mentioned the dog... and the dog videos had been put on there and then taken down. Not by me, because I didn't put them on there either in the first place. I merely just said, like I've said many times, just in the process of making my video, when the dog's made a noise, of course the dog is technologically possessed. And, it got me into trouble because, as I say, it was at the start of the video, and the owner just happened to watch the start of my video. They normally don't watch the whole video, you see. They just check to see that I'm making the video. I'm not quite sure why, but that's all part of this watcher society that we live in, you see, because that's exactly right. I was just going to make that point, that whatever anyone says about you or me applies more to them. So don't take offence if someone says to me, "Oh, you're watching me," like if I go out there and film with the thing, like I was doing, they probably say, "Oh, you're some sort of stalker, filming us on the street." Whereas we know the roles are really reversed. They've been doing it for years. Everyone, whereas I only get, so it's like that. That's how this matrix works. It's a reverse false world in every way. And that's why I get slightly angry at times. Now, there's Putty. Now, Putty has positioned himself into a very awkward spot there to where I can't see him too well. Because the cat knows that it is not the cat. It looks like a cat. The old saying, if it looks like a cat, if it walks like a cat, it must be a cat. Well, that's in the old world, and that's how I would have thought. And that does apply in some incidences to some people. In other words, you can see them by their actions. But no, you can't tell just by superficially looking at someone or something what they really are. No. That would go at a personality level, but it goes at an entity level. Because possession, if you think it is so, as I do, I know it to be so. I don't think it to be so. That's one fairy tale that I am not going to say is a fairy tale. I know it goes into a fantasy realm. Some things are speculation. Even on my part, I may get some things that are not the full thing. And I don't fully understand possession. But I know it exists. I see it. And I can prove it. But the Matrix doesn't want me to, and that's why the dog is peeing on the floor over there, as you can see, just when I was about to go on to the possession and prove it. Now, he's peed twice, and I haven't cleaned it up yet. That's why we have such a mess, because you can't keep everything up when you're living with a god dog. When I say a god dog, because although he's in a shocking state and really not looked after by the Matrix, even though he's operating for them indirectly, in this place where I live, this makes my surroundings like squalor. Because I was going to get rid of that couch over there, but that's his throne almost, because he's sentimental about it, because he won't sit on anything else because it's comfortable for him, but it's had it. And it's awful and it's dirty, but, until he doesn't exist or passes on, I'm leaving it here for him for that reason. But, I keep saying I'm going to throw it out at every clean-up, which is only every 6 months, and that's been years now, because it was had it when he first started to jump on it even, I don't know what I'm going on about here. I'm going on about the practicalities of living in a place. I'm supposed to be out on... See what this is? This is what the Matrix makes human beings look a fool. I look a fool. I don't look valid at all. Not at all. Any rate, See, I've lost energy making the video because I realise it looks stupid and I feel stupid and I feel as though I'm not on top of it. And I'm not. But I'll go back to the cat. Back to the cat. There we are. See, we have the cat. You're squinting at me or squinting at the camera? I know you do squint at me a lot. Despite everything I say, yeah, he put his paw up because he knows I was going to say that you still like me. I actually know what I'm going to say before I say it. That's because they're so used to the Matrix and its technical beings and its technology that is this Earth, that is the Matrix. It is just technology 100%. At least it is for me. I don't know where you're living. If you're living, I don't know, can you avoid the technology completely being part of your existence if you're in some remote region of the Amazon or something? I'm not quite sure. Big boy put his paw up then. That might be a possibility. But you probably wouldn't survive very long there anyway, so that's probably why. But I don't... Look, that's assuming a real reality too, to some extent. You know, I've always went with a natural Earth that is literally finished. Like, I actually go with the idea that the natural Earth... No, I don't buy this now, but originally I thought it was a natural Earth that was basically taken over and that had been depleted in every way. But it was still still had a natural core, you could almost say. Not even sure if I know what I'm talking about here, really, to be quite honest. But also, then at another point, I thought the original Earth had been totally destroyed. So it was replaced with something that was not the same. And then, of course, these are possibilities, you see. And quite frankly, even these possibilities go out of my realm of understanding. I'm talking like over my head, so I might just fold up on that. I don't know why I did it, actually. But and then, you know, depending on how far the technology really has gone. Because you must remember, and this is something that only occurred to me recently, this technological God being that is the controller behind everything, shall we say, this being has been around for so long and has only dealt with technology. So therefore the technology, there's a matrix plane, dear. So therefore the technology is probably much, much more advanced than what I could comprehend. So therefore the reality is much more out of my grasp or my understanding than what I can possibly comprehend. So therefore my simplistic view of, a natural Earth destroyed and then, or a natural Earth completely covered in technology and a lot of real life gone, it's all that sort of stuff. That may be very far removed from what has now happened because of the reality that I think in terms of only what once was and what I only know, my idea of reality, you know. So therefore although I'm aware that the technology has taken over my mind, you see, so that I now know that to be so because I see it. So I can't deny it, even though it's beyond my comprehension. So I know that the Matrix can read my mind. I know the Matrix takes my thoughts. I know the Matrix relays everything back to me. That's interesting too. I'm just going to make this point for anyone that's listening, or one that's listening. Um, many moons ago, one told me. Many moons ago, um, there was. I'm just trying to think of the movie. Um, One told me to watch a movie called World on the Wire, on a wire, many moons ago. Putting it nice, I'm not sure how long, maybe a year ago or something. Lose track of time, and watched it, of course. But at the time they said this was a movie that they related to, that was based, and it was of the year they were born, and based on their life in a way, like like I always say, like as though their life was being a little bit relayed back to them through a movie. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is right. This was correct. That's right. And that's I can't say that I actually look at every movie and say that's my life or that's thing, but I see my thoughts, the different, relayed back but put into a movie, but the movie might have nothing to do with my actual life, whereas that would be a lot more direct. But it's the same thing. It's where you're recognizing that the technology has taken over your mind and is using it in this technological world that we live in, which it does with humans, evidently. See, I don't think I put that very well at all. In fact, I didn't get it when this was expressed to me, that the movie somehow was a representation of their reality or their life, because I actually got confused by it, and even a bit. The Matrix almost got me a little bit in a way, because I'm like, oh, this is all about an artificial reality, and where the people were not real. So it's like, are you saying you're not real? So it got me a bit confused, but of course that's not really the point. That's only because I don't comprehend everything fully. And also there are other elements, that I don't fully understand, because each person, even those that is here now, might not be exactly the same. That could be true. I don't know. But so there is Putty. Now I prefer it if the cat was sitting there so I could just show you. Putty, big boy, come on up here. Food. I'll get you some chicken after, okay? Come on. Because he normally has it a bit later, because, you like to space his snacks out a little bit. He's not big on that. He said he doesn't like it if I count the hours between the snacks and things. He's like, I want food, give me food. See how he moved his leg? He said, I'll tell you. He said, I'm a bit like they used to say with babies, feed them on demand. Well, he said, that's how he is, feed on demand. See, he moved his leg. He's obliging for that, if nothing else. It's only when I get to the serious stuff that he reneges a bit. That's a word my father used to use. It's from a card game where you renege, which means you don't show your hand, or you don't you don't put your card out when you're supposed to. You hold back. Yeah, that's interesting. That's a good word, actually. My father used to use that word because it's from a card game, because he liked playing cards. So the cat sometimes reneges. See how he put his paw up when I said that? I think I missed that. But either way, he just did it then. Am I getting him in or not? That's the question. I'm probably not getting his paw in. So once again, I'm not. I've got to show it. I've got to prove it. In a legitimate way, if I can, because otherwise it looks completely stupid. I have to say that. And I know we're in a stupid, stupid world, as the song goes, but Big Boy moved his paw. Is it coming out or not? that's very good of you, big boy, to oblige me a little bit. But he said you've already made a fool of yourself, so it don't matter now. Is that right, Dale? Is it? Is it? I can't even see if I'm getting him in because I've got the camera around the wrong way, so I can't frame it. I don't know if I got his paw in. But at any rate, look, I should really fold up, but look, this was pointed out to me about different animals and possession. Not so much even possession, but that animals can be replaced. Is that the word? Have you been replaced, big boy? Are you what I think you are? Or am I only half right? Well, he moved his paw, so I'm not sure he's saying that I know what he is, or whether I'm only half right. But even if I'm half right, that still makes some validity to what I'm saying. I know that what I do know is correct. Whether I have the whole story is another thing. I can only grasp things and then acknowledge them. Yeah, he moved his paw as they come to me, because it's a slow process for me of figuring things out, or just the information coming to me, or me seeing it with my own eyes and then saying that cannot be denied. But with cognitive dissonance operating and a matrix operating around you, it is still easy to not see even what is in front of you, which is strange. Because Big Boy has been here now for the last, probably for the last 3-4 years, right? And he has changed. At some point, a change took place in him, right? He moved his paw. I should keep it on him, but I can't. At some point, a change took place in him. I am guessing that it was about, and I cannot pinpoint the time because I don't have the exact date. I know the incident, but I'm not even sure of the exact year now because it was an incident, but I did not realise that a change had taken place. That is because of an unacceptance of something that that you think cannot be real, that could not be possible. See how he moved? That's right. And when about, I don't know, a year ago or something, maybe more than that now, when I spoke to one that told me that their animal had been changed. I mentioned this before in the possessed cat video. I still didn't fully focus on the big boy cat. But when I thought about it a little, I thought, yes, that is exactly what has happened with Big Boy. You see, but some people have said to me, well, you just took notice of someone else because you didn't notice it before. But that is where they would be wrong. I did notice it before, but I just didn't think it was possible or a possible reality, so you dismiss it. You say, well, yes, I do notice something has changed, but you're like, I don't understand why, but you don't dwell on it. You don't dwell on it because it doesn't fit reality. If you see something strange, if I saw something strange a few years ago, like right now in this room, something out of the ordinary, if I saw a light or something appear in the room that shouldn't be there, I'm not saying this has happened, but if it did, I would now know that it's part of the matrix. But if it happened a few years ago, I I would try to find some rational reason, and if I couldn't, I would just let it go. But I wouldn't dwell on it and say there's a ghost in the room or something, because it's something that I wouldn't have thought was possible, because I lived in only the real world that I was told was real. And it's the same with an animal. You could have an animal, and if it changes physically in some way, if it doesn't fit with chronological changing due to age, like the dog does fit with a kind of chronological changing, not 100% no, but the big grey face people put down to aging. But I could prove the cats change with photographs. But of course, I got those photographs. I mentioned this in the other video. Got those photographs. They're on the TV now. But I can't show them to you. I can't look at them. Because the photos were put in with a device. I don't fully understand this. It's on a stick or something, and all the photos were on it. And I was given the stick by, I was given the stick after they had transferred my photos that I had over the last few years onto the stick for me. And I asked for the stick eventually, and they brought it, put it into the TV, and it worked for 2 days. When I was starting to go back over the photos, I did see some of the cat, yes, but I don't need to look at photos of the cat. That would only be to show you. So naturally, I can't look at them now. The TV won't display those photos, because the Matrix doesn't want me to show you, or any of you that don't believe in possession of animals, that it is so at a physical level. Because if you can show a photo of a real original animal that looks totally different to the one that is standing in your kitchen, that is proof. That is what you call clear, cold evidence. I'm getting angry here. And I could do that. But of course the Matrix let me look at those photos for 2 days. But when the thought crossed my mind that I might show them to someone else, see, the Matrix knows you're thinking. Just like when 9 months ago or something like that, I had the idea that I would definitely like to go to England. And I was actually thinking, just for a week or two, I'm thinking, I've got to get a passport. I've got to get on a plane. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I knew I couldn't. But I still thought there was time. So I thought I got time to at least try to muster up some way to accomplish these things. But that's what I want to do. If I could do it right this very second, I would have done it. Even though I wasn't sure what would be waiting for me. But the Matrix closed the planes down. Because the Matrix knew that I couldn't get on the plane anyway. The Matrix knew I didn't have a passport. The Matrix knew I couldn't get these things, or that I would have so much trouble getting them. And the Matrix knows I'm not very mobile, all these sorts of things, and I get no help. If I got help, I could probably do some of these things. But either way, the Matrix knew this. And the Matrix, like, we know she's not going to be able to do it anyway. But even if there's a 1% chance that she gets on a plane and gets to that England, we're not going to let it happen. So we're just going to close everything down. And that goes vice versa too. And no doubt it covers a lot of people. Because, the Matrix doesn't do things for nothing. But it's basically like we're not taking any chances at these final dying stages, because they're reeling. As they would be, Even though it feels as though I am, really on the losing end of the stick. But all that shows to me is that they don't want human beings to even make their situation slightly better, because there may be some potential to rock this Matrix. That's all it shows to me. See, that's a practical thing too. I don't understand all these things, but I knew instantly, because those planes were closed down within 2 months. The whole world, all flight path, things all closed down. This is something that's never happened. So what is going on? Cat has taken my seat there. He knows he's not allowed to sit on my seat, but see, he thinks he's the king too. Because, see, the Matrix is like that, like the dog, God backwards, as its owner has told me many times. It's like, because even though that dog is really not treated like a god and has not really been looked after as well as what we could have or should have. But there again, it's easy to be wise after the fact, as they say. It's easy to know your mistakes after you've made them because you don't know what the future holds. So you're operating in the moment, and you are surrounded sometimes by negative people, negative information, and a lot of the time, I have to say myself, and this is an excuse and an alibi, definitely, that what you would normally do if you're dealing with psychopathic people all the time, they sidetrack you because your energy goes into playing and fighting with them in a way, because it's really fighting. It's not really playing even, because even though you might just be having a conversation, if they're defeating you at a psychological level or bringing you down to where your frequency and vibration and your very essence as a person feels like nothing, they're really fighting you, and they are fighting you at all levels. Some of them fight more openly and more hardly, shall we say, or more, I can't find the right word, more, some fight subtle and covert, but they still bring you down, and others fight openly and viciously almost. And that will depend on, how much they have to do to keep you at a low level. So obviously, if you are able to deal more with the subtle and play it without it, then they don't get a victory there. So then they have to become more open in their game against you, shall we say, because they're not being successful at the covert level, at the subtle level. But that will depend on the situation. You could be someone, this is just a personal thing here, you could be someone where you will only be played if they are more subtle, if they show their true nature and their true hand at a very aggressive physical or vocal level. You could be the sort of person that might just push them aside and push them over. Whereas, like if someone like myself, depending on the circumstances, the guilt and the obligation and thing will be used against you. So, therefore, they're given more free rein to verbally and, be more direct and more open in their in their fight with you, really, instead of playing it like subtly and just giving you what's that saying they used to say? Passive aggressive. Remember, people. In fact, many psychopaths used to say, "Oh, you're just passive aggressive." That was passive aggressive for someone else, and sometimes it actually is. But even human beings can be passive aggressive, but that's only because they're upset by something and they don't want to be openly abusive or rude to someone. They don't want actually a fight, and they don't want to play it to the death like some of these psychopaths will do. But they will be accused by the very psychopaths themselves of being passive aggressive. I've had many of them say that to me. Oh, that person's just passive aggressive. In other words, they're really defeated and they're really pathetical, so they can only just give a little they're doing something negative in a little way, which is usually sad and true. I don't know what I'm talking about here. I kind of do, but I'm not expressing it well at all. Not at all. I'm sorry about that. But I had the photos on the TV of the cat. The cat, as the cat was, I think that the photos go back 4 years. Not before that, I don't have any. So if change took place before a certain time, I wouldn't be able to prove it with the photos, okay? That's true. But I still have my memory. And, if you have an animal that you see every day, there again, like I say, the matrix does mess with your mind, does try to trick you that way, to where what you know becomes like, oh, I think that. But how can it be so? Because it's not so now. And the reality is that something can't change. Well, that's only because you don't think that something can be changed. You believe in the old reality. You don't believe that things can be replaced. You don't believe in possession. Now, even possession is an interesting thing. I'm going to be funny here or clever, and I'm not really, but even possession is funny this way. I'm missing a matrix plane going overhead there. I can hear it. Not sure how low it is. But where was I? Even with possession, right? I don't fully understand this. But like in the movie The Innocents, the two children were possessed by dark spirits. One was a very powerful dark spirit. The other was a human that had turned to the dark side and then had subsequently died and therefore was a dark, negative spirit who wanted to keep contact with the more powerful dark spirit. Was beguiled by the dark spirit. Beguiled's a good word. That means you're, I think you'd have to look it up actually, because I'm not sure if I got the right translation. But essentially means that you have been taken over mentally and physically often in every way by another being. Or another person, even if you want to take it at a real level. But that's a psychopathic. That's a psychopath taking over a human. Whereas we're talking about dead, dark spirits in the movie, because that's how the movie is portrayed. These people have died, but they're still lingering around because they want to possess the bodies of the two young children so that then they can interact as though they are still living in this reality through the bodies of the two children. So if they want to do the things that they did in real life with one another, they can only do them in this reality through the two children, because they're passed over, So they can only enjoy this reality like they used to if they possess the body of a human being, or the two children in the case of the movie, in The Innocents. But that's interesting because you presume that they were two human children and they just took over the body. So the body looked the same. But with the animals, we're not dealing with the same body. That's where I get tricked and where I don't understand the technology or the actual reality. But see, because I could say that Big Boy Cat was possessed, like the children in The Innocents. But the original Big Boy Cat that I originally known 12, 13 years ago is not the same cat as the Big Boy Cat that's sitting there now. Physically, he looks similar, but he is not the same. Also, I now think back onto all the details of the Big Boy Cat to clarify in my own mind and to present it to you as what, evidence? I can't prove, because I haven't got the photos, but the photos go back 3, half. The photos could go back. I'm not sure when I first started taking the photos, but I'm guessing the photos would go back 6 years. The ones that I have that should be on the TV that the TV won't let me show you. The Matrix won't let me show you. Because just maybe, in amongst all those photos, because there was quite a lot of the cat, because at one stage I took a lot of the cat when the dog first come to stay with me, and the cat then started coming in a bit more, took a lot of photos. I'm pretty sure that those photos would show that the cat that's sitting on my seat here now, just as Big Boy's, I even had photos, I think, of Big Boy sitting on that seat when he naughtily sat on there, because I don't like the cat sitting on my seat. You know, I like animals, but I'm not cat and dog friendly at a physical level. I have to. I guiltily say that. I'm not proud of it, no, but I still like the animals more than people who don't have that issue, who couldn't care less about animals wandering around everywhere. I still like them more. That's why the cat comes to me, despite that, because, and don't forget, he's an outdoor cat. And I've got OCD, so I don't like animals inside. But look, he's inside sitting on my seat. That means I can't sit on that till I clean it or change it, because I'm uncomfortable. So I have extra work or extra washing or whatever. And I'm whinging. I'm sorry about that. Poor little old me, I'm whinging about, having to do a bit of washing for the poor cat that just wants to sit on. Because he only sits on the seat because I've sat on it. Because he's sentimental. Even though he's not my original Big Boy cat. Isn't that funny? Because he could sit anywhere else. He could sit over, he can't sit over there, but I would clear that for him. I would clear another seat for him. There's not many seats anyway. He could sit over there with the dog. He could sit on the steps. He can sit, in fact, basically, he can sit anywhere in this whole area, in the whole part of this house. He can sit anywhere here. I don't like him going up the stairs because I don't want him on the bed. In fact, the last time the cat went on the bed, not this cat but Zane, he actually did his business on the bed because he sneaked up there and he was only up there for a minute. That was the Matrix. And cats don't do that. Cats hate to do their business inside, but did that. That's just showing possession too. But I'm not going on about that cat because I don't know enough about it. But to me, that is still control and possession. I took it that way. But either way, he sits on this seat because, this is a personal video. Maybe it should just be a video of me and my experience in my life as opposed to a Matrix video. I'm supposed to be out there getting the Matrix plane. But like I say, it's only for a few now. My original purpose, if there ever was one, has long since been forgotten because it just doesn't work out in this reality. And the whole purpose, really, of making a video at the very start was just to stop the Matrix being so intrusive. That was really my purpose. So it was actually quite selfish originally, in a way. Obviously, I thought that if there were other people in my predicament, because I realised that most people were not the same that way. So that did then give me an affinity that way. But at the same time, I made the videos for Matrix people, those that were in a double mind, as I've said before, assuming there are Matrix people in a double mind. To lessen the Matrix destroying my life, really. That was the whole purpose originally. But at any rate, the cat sits probably on the seat just as much because it's my seat. Just as the dog sits on that seat over there because its owner used to sit there for a few years and only sat there. And so the dog then, even though these are not original animals, they still have the memories, I think, of the original animals. So that's why they behave so similar. That's how I see it, because otherwise, why is this cat sitting on the one spot that I sit on? That's the only spot I sit on. That's the only spot I sit on, and the cat is sitting on it. It's not that comfortable. I mean, it might be, but it's probably not. I don't think it's a very comfortable seat. But it could sit anywhere else. And actually, that's the only, of course, there is the matrix element too, because that's the only spot that I don't want the cat to sit on. This few square feet is the only spot where the cat's not supposed to sit, where I don't like it, where it's going to cause me a problem. It can sit everywhere else, anywhere it wants, anywhere all over here. See, I'm showing you, even in the kitchen and anywhere at all. In fact, I'd even get it a cat bed, if it wanted to stay inside all the time, but it's got a little one out the front there, because it's really an outdoor cat, but I would do that. But if I got it a fancy cat bed, it wouldn't touch it. It would still want to sit on my seat. I guarantee you that. Now, whether that's Matrix or the cat being sentimental from the memories of the previous time when the original cat did like to sit on my seat, I took it that it was like to sit on my seat because I'd sat on it, because it liked to be close to me if I wasn't sitting. Of course, there could be a dominance element too. I don't know. I'm overdoing the animal element here, I think, and losing it completely. But I'm losing this mobile phone too. And see, I can't sit down now and put the phone down and relax to finish the video because I'm inside. So I'm holding up the mobile. I should be out there. It's freezing cold outside. There's very few Matrix planes, and the Matrix people are playing possum and keeping a low profile, and they're going to play possum for the while I have got the mobile phone there, because they are very good actors, but strangely enough don't want to be in my little film, shall we say. No. They don't even want to be in it, even if I showed it to no one. But at any rate, I better fold up, but because I'm getting very late here. But I was just going to say that the photos, yes, that I have of the cat going back 6 years, where possibly I could show, I'm pretty sure that those photos would show that this cat here is physically quite different to the photos that I have, but the Matrix has blocked me from showing them. In fact, I've asked about it and no one can figure it out why the stick won't play the photos. And they were playing them for the first 2 days till I got the thought that I might show it to someone. See, the human only has to get the thought, and then the Matrix is like, we're going to cover that. We're going to make sure that if they have the slightest intention of doing something that might cause a problem or a disturbance in any way, whether it be travelling, whether it be showing a photo, anything at all, that, it may not cause as much trouble to the Matrix as what the Matrix anticipates. But the Matrix isn't taking any chances on any human being at this late stage. That's how I see it. Because a bit like in that song, which I was going to do the video on, called Losing My Religion, which I was very familiar with many years ago and thought, what a profound song. Well, I really think that song is very good. I don't fully understand it, but I know it's very good. Now I understand it a bit more. Only recently do I understand it, after liking it a real lot for about 20 or 30 years, or whenever it was originally released, because I was aware of it when it was first released, because I used to listen to more music back in those days. I used to listen to the Demigods. Now, in that song, what does it go? I can't remember the lyrics now, but it just come to me that there was a point in that where these of the Matrix and the demigods, they're that song tells you that they're watching all the time. They're studying you all the time. And they don't want to, they're not taking any chances, in losing anything that you do or say, because, it's like the Matrix, that they're on their guard. They're I was trying to get the lyrics of the song, and of course I wasn't prepared for it, so I can't think of it now. I might put it in another video. But it's like that. They're not going to take any chances at all, if they think that you do something and they know that there's no chance of you meeting someone, no chance of you rocking this reality in any way, they'll let you go wherever you want, more or less, But if they think that there is a chance of, causing a problem for the Matrix, then the Matrix, the lyrics come back to me. The lengths that I will go to, the distance in your eyes. The lengths that they will go to. There's no length that they won't go to get what they want, to restrict you, to keep their reality or to get the reality they want. The Matrix demigods, the Matrix operatives, those that are working for the Matrix actors. Some of them may or may not know the full picture, as they say, just as I don't always know the full picture. But, there is no lengths that the Matrix and the Matrix God entity won't go to bridge that distance. I'm trying to be fancy here, but really it's just saying the lengths that I will go to, the distance in your eyes. I've lost the rest of the lyrics, but I've lost the lyrics because I wasn't going to do the song, but it's still telling you that, because it doesn't really make any sense. If you listen to that song and it just appears to be some sort of love song, which is how I took it 30 years ago, I just thought it was a very profound love song, even though the title of it is Losing My Religion. So I thought it was kind of like, basically, that's right. That's how the demigods get you in, because even if you don't understand a song or the lyrics or some words, it's profound, that word profound. It's over your head and you're terribly impressed by it. But the parts that you do know and understand, you relate to because they are from you or from a human. And then the rest, you're like, the demigod knows even more than me. The demigod is more human than me. The demigod is more this, more that, knows more profound, more feeling, more this, understands the reality more, understands the, things that you don't understand. Of course you don't understand, because you're in a matrix. And the lengths that they won't go to, is nobody's business, as they say, because there is no length the Matrix won't go to stop you, to hinder you, to restrict you, to suppress you, so that you don't have any effect on this reality at all. And look at the world now. There is no lengths. Things that you wouldn't have thought would be possible or that wouldn't happen. That is to keep them connected and us disconnected. If you want to look at it bluntly, they're all connected. Matrix and its disciples, its followers and people are all connected. But, I'm not connected to anyone or anything, only to psychopathic people, surrounded by a psychopathic matrix, literally. That's putting it very bluntly. Very bluntly. Notice how my videos also have got a little bit more desperate, you know. Gone are the days when I first started making a video where it was like, we're spiritual beings in a physical body. Our thought creates reality and we're all connected. No, because we're not all connected. We can't even connect even physically if we wanted to. You know, if at the present time, you know, if I had someone that was a real support or a benefit to me, just in the next state in Australia, I can't get there. They can't get here at the moment, much less anywhere else. That's just the reality. Hopefully this will pass. That will have to need an awful lot of human thought. And that won't happen through me. That will have to happen through others. Because I don't think that I have that ability with the thinking or the thought. But I do think that at other levels, you know, they're not bringing me down for nothing. So obviously, that's why I think it's a bit of a combination, and they're all combined, whereas humans are not. So it's essential to combine at this time, even though it's almost checkmate, as I've said anyway. But that doesn't matter. Well, it does matter. It matters if you want to keep this reality going for some other purpose, or if you think that it's a time playing game, because that's how I used to see it. I used to think it's a matter of playing for time. That's how I felt. Now, whether this is so or not, I don't know. And then now I feel like, hey, the sooner things pass, the better. But that is probably how they want you to think too. So, you know, are you playing for yourself or for the Matrix? You know, I could not be confident either way there, because I know how clever this Matrix is. You know it plays you. You know it gets you every day. So you never know if you're thinking the correct way. But also, you're not connected to others to converse enough to even understand, or even to get a few more ideas. That seems to always be hindered too. I've noticed that. And that's because, like, when you're making the videos, you get the thoughts, but you agitate a lot of the time. Like, if someone appeared right now and I was talking, I mean, I might not converse with them or be able to get the right advice from them, even at the given time, because you might talk about something that isn't a benefit to you. You know, like I'm talking about look at the little cat. It's unbelievable to think that that is a dear little possessed animal. It's unreal, really, isn't it? Look at it. Sound asleep there on the seat. Of course, I'm uncomfortable here standing up. But it is sound asleep. See, a few years ago, with the cat, we'll get back onto the cat. This was not supposed to be the video. I'm supposed to be outside doing a tourist guide to a street in Leichhardt, okay? Instead, I'm doing the cat thing again. There's the dog asleep too over there. Dog asleep there. I don't know if I'm getting him in. I'm trying to hold the camera, but I'm not getting it in. He's a lot more bony than what he used to be. He used to be a ball of muscle most of his life, the most muscular, athletic dog. Of course, in the last few years, he could still walk as much as he wanted to, and he wasn't as muscular as when he was, like, say, his first 8 or 9 years. I didn't know him that well in his first 8 or 9 years. He was with his owner, and I only saw him fleetingly, but I still saw how incredibly athletic he was on many occasions. As was shown a little bit in a temporary video that was put up, one ear is now bigger than the other. much bigger, and sometimes sticks right up. That was an accident that was caused when the owner and me went into this new supermarket a few years ago now. It wasn't that long ago, but it was like, say, 2 years or something, maybe a bit more, I'm not sure, but it was not that long ago. And, just this new supermarket that was just a little bit further, so we walked the dog and we left the dog outside because they had this special dog thing where you could leave it, and there was no dog there. When we come out there, the place was covered in dogs. 2 of them were on top of Simba, and he's blind, so he can't even see the dogs, and he generally doesn't bother much with dogs in recent times when he lost his eyesight completely. And they were all on top of him. There was no display of any viciousness or anything, but when we got home, we realised that his ear had become completely infected and was all full of blood and everything, and that's why one ear is now much smaller than the other. It did recover eventually, but that was just so that we were uncomfortable, because actually I rather enjoyed going into that supermarket just for about a small space of time. So every time you go out in a matrix, if you are starting, the dog's moving a lot over there, letting me know. See how he's moving? See, that's like that they let you know that you're right, because that is a being inside telling you, yeah, we got you again. They don't care if they injure your animal, because don't forget the technical being that's inside is not really the dog. That's just a vehicle, like in the like possession in the Innocence, when the other beings inhabit the bodies of the children. The children don't have any choice, and if the beings decide to make the animal's body injured, there's nothing the animal can do about it. I'm not sure how that actually works, because, as a human being, you just tend to think a certain way. But either way, I've lost the whole plot here. I'm sorry about that. The dog distracted me by moving. But my point being that the minute you start to even just feel, because I was aware of the matrix when I went into that supermarket, like that was after the matrix had opened up, but I went that day with a relative with the dog into this new supermarket because they suggested it, and I was still conscious of the matrix, so I wasn't on top of the world, but it was still remotely something different and a bit pleasant. That the matrix does that every time. If you even go somewhere different, just a little bit, and it's remotely pleasant, or you try to make it pleasant, you try to ignore that the matrix is around you and look at something that might be what you would in the past have thought was good, like if you go to a different supermarket and it's got different food and you think, oh, this is a very good supermarket. It was a very interesting supermarket. They don't want you to go there again. So they cause an unpleasant experience with the dog to where the dog is injured. And we haven't been there since then. And that has happened to me so many times in the past, where what started out to be something that could have been a little bit, that's how desperate the matrix is. That's why I say there's no lengths, like the song, that the matrix won't go to with the humans that are now here, or left, or whichever way you want to look at it, to suppress and to isolate. Isolate is their main thing too, because with support a human can feel a bit better. That's really all it comes down to. Some people would say, well, is it going to make any difference? Well, it shouldn't, but it does, because there is so much suppression. Like, I shouldn't be here on a video saying that I would need support in any way. But if there wasn't a whole, if there wasn't a whole matrix around you, you shouldn't probably need it. I'm not one that's going to be asking people for help or or demanding relationships at this late stage in my life. I'd got past that point. That was why the matrix come down. I was like, I'm just going to pretty much go it alone. I'll be fine. I'm quite happy with that almost. And, you know, acquaintances maybe, but, you know, get on with as many people as you can, but not get too involved. I didn't need it at that point because I'd experienced so much, and realising that 9 out of 10 people are almost psychopathic at the least. At the least. That's at the least. That's at the very least scenario in this. That was before the matrix come down. That was my realisation, as I said. That was enough to bring the matrix down. Or maybe some matrix people, of course, became aware of that because they know what you're thinking too. I think this is it. Because I was aware of this. But I thought if I just don't say anything and just keep it to myself, I can just plod on and pretend that there aren't psychopaths everywhere. Because I wasn't going to do anything to them or say anything. I would just live and let live. And even when I watched the TV and was learning a bit more about the psychopaths or the narcissists and saying, well, that's what I've experienced in my life, I'm like keeping the TV low, thinking that I don't want any neighbour to hear it because I know they all are. That became a realisation. Just comes to you. These things just come to you in a bang. You know, like in one big moment of realisation, shall we say. No, because if you realised it with those that are closest to you, because they've shown it openly, you know, they've almost smacked you in the face with it. Because in the past, like I say, you deal with subtle psychopaths. So you're left in a land of confusion with them. Because even if you think you're clever, you're probably just going to say, I know there's something wrong there. And I know they're negative, so I should avoid them now. But you still don't understand what really makes them tick. You wonder why they're like that. You think, oh, it must have been something in the childhood. Well, of course it was. But you don't still understand that they are totally negative towards you and most other people. You don't get that. You think you try to rationalise it. But when you realise that, and if they realise that you realise, that's like saying you know that they know what they really are, and that there is no real circumstances that have led them to dislike you. There's no real basis for that. Sometimes there might be, and certainly you might do wrong things to them and all this sort of stuff. But they really are just going to use that against you at this point in time because they just don't want to like you. They want to take from you. They don't like the reality that you are still trying to make some sort of life in this matrix because they've actually kind of lost that. And they resent the fact that you try to make it into a bit of life. They should actually do the opposite. They should actually say, hey, maybe if we associate with this person, we might get some of our life back. Maybe we can all get together and try to resolve things. But they don't actually want that. They think it's past them. They've went for the option of destroying that which they think might have a bit more, as opposed to trying to make themselves be like that themselves, get back what they really should, what they're entitled to really have, and what they've lost. They think that's impossible or too hard. So they're like, it's just easier to get rid of the opposition because they see you as opposition. They're like, we can't shine. We're really dead. And we can only shine if we're only amongst dead other people. But if we have someone that's alive, then that will just outshine us. That's kind of how they look at it, which is kind of weird. It's very weird, but it's the reality because there's no other reason, no real reality as to why they would want to, bring you down, defeat you. Especially if you are actually a benefit to them or helping them, that doesn't seem to really matter. And this is true, and of course this is relayed back by. Probably the thing that gets me most is the technology. Even the psychopaths, they can totally finish you, and that's a fact. But this technology appears to be a benefit. I mean, like, if I'm dealing with a psychopath, I know what I'm up against, and I know that I can't get on top of it, and I know it can defeat me. But then if I turn the television on and I have a sympathetic psychologist telling me all about my negative psychopathic people around me, I'm like, oh, there's a real human psychologist that understands the problem. But no, that is even more of the matrix. That's what really gets me upset, shall we say. To realise that there is no support for the human being. That even the support systems are all technologically controlled matrix demigods or people, depending on their status. But it doesn't matter. They are not real people. They are psychopaths warning you about psychopaths, literally, if you want to put it bluntly. They are technical, psychopathic demigods or beings or even humans that are psychopathic, that are playing a psychologist, supportive, sympathetic role when they're really psychopaths warning you about the psychopaths in your life. That's how much the Matrix has got us. That when I do that, when I turn it on and I can see clearly that I'm looking at a psychopath on the TV telling me that I should be careful about the real psychopaths in my life, which actually is the truth. So the truth is being used by psychopaths and by the technological beings and by the God entity, if you really want to look at it, the whole matrix, because that's the whole system. If everything around you is like that, I don't know if I'm putting this right. I'm probably not. If only I could express it a bit better. But you probably, some of you probably know exactly what I mean, and may even know more on how it actually works. I only know what I see. I know if I look at the TV, I know if I'm looking at a psychopath in my reality, the players of the Matrix, outside my door, in front of me, possessed animals. The cat is the least. That's why it's my friend, because although it's possessed, it does me the least amount of trouble or harm at any level. It can only be, this is probably its worst, is sitting on my seat. Sometimes it does nearly trip me over with its greediness running for the food, which could be a problem too. But this is the worst, is it taking over my only seat so that I can't sit down. But most others of the Matrix and those around, and even the dog is a lot more lethal, shall we say. So that's why I, still treat the cat as though it's the original cat, and treat it better sometimes even, because, like I say, got 2 lots of chicken yesterday, whereas it's only supposed to get 1 because it is supposed to go home for one of its meals. I don't care if it does or not, but, you don't want to get into more interactions with Matrix neighbours and people because, even though it's a big pretense, yes, I know that. Oh, the dog just let me know what he thought of it just then. This is some Matrix. I better fold up. But either way, I was just going to... Perhaps I'll go on to the cat into details at another point. Just for those of you that maybe haven't had animals or are unaware that your animals could be not what you think. Actually, it's probably better if you don't know. The dog just did it again. It's probably better if you don't know, because then you might keep yourself a little bit content, because it is very disturbing to realise it. But I kind of find it funny that if your animal has changed, that you wouldn't actually notice. But that's because, like I say, if you don't think something's possible, that cognitive dissonance that we ramble on and on about does set in. It has to, because otherwise you're like, you'd be in a double mind. But even in a double mind, you'll still opt for either letting it go or some more outrageous explanation. Like for instance, I'll just say this. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll leave it for another video because it's getting late and I'm going to be in a bit of a pickle otherwise. There is a plane going over, but I think that I would have liked to have finished with a plane, but I don't think I can. I don't think I can go out there. It's too cold anyway. I haven't got a jacket. And this has been a disastrous video that actually gives very little, doesn't offer you very much, I have to admit. I was hoping to just show at a practical level the street kind of thing. I'm just trying to do a bit of that now, even though it's something that I never intended to do. I did get it from one that had suggested looking at a few other videos many a month ago, even though I was well aware of it, even 2 years ago. But I thought, oh, I can't do that. And I'm sorry about that, but the dog's doing things there. But, but I thought I just can't do that. But then when I saw a video where it was shown to me that someone was doing that, and I actually said to myself, that person looks ridiculous. They were trying to show the Matrix at a car practical level. But, even there I'm like, oh, you poor thing. I'm actually thinking, you poor thing. Because I'm thinking, oh, I believe you. I know that what you're saying is so. I can see the cars. But to an outsider, to even an average person in the old world, they're not to know that there were less cars on that road or in that street, before you saw the Matrix or before the Matrix come in on you. Because he was saying that. He was saying this road shouldn't have all these cars. They're coming from other suburbs. They don't belong here. They don't live here. And I thought, oh, that's interesting, because even I always thought most of it is local, but they're all just everything local is in on it. But I knew also there was coming from others too, because because it's a continual flow, and also that it is extensive. It will follow you, because if I just, what's that word? How you, as I've said before, the only way that a human can really upset the Matrix at all is when they make a very quick, unthought out decision. Because everything else the Matrix can set itself up for. You know what I mean? Because if you think it, but then unless you think it and do it instantly, or you can almost do it before you think it, you can't catch the Matrix out. The Matrix will have enough time to put things into place, because the Matrix might not even need very much time. Because don't forget, we're talking about big technology here. Even I know that. Because even if you've got cars set up, like for instance, if you've got a Matrix where you've got cars, this just occurred to me, because I see cars everywhere parked. They're always parked. There's always parked cars, even if people aren't in them. These are Matrix cars left there for Matrix people to jump into, probably, I would imagine. So they already have a lot set in place. That's how they can do it. So they have technology. They use technology to keep in contact, so that everything is there's always something. There's always a patrol force, for instance. There's always the Lost Patrol. I say the Lost Patrol, but they don't think they're lost. They think that I'm lost. And they want to make you feel lost too. They don't want you to feel secure or safe in your reality. They want you to feel that you are completely lost and alone and don't know what you're doing, because most of the time you actually kind of don't. But they do like you to go to plan a bit too. Like, they don't particularly like it if I decide to go to a different street. And that's probably why they certainly wouldn't want it for you to travel. Like I say, they wouldn't want you to go overseas, because then they would have to deal with they've got a great setup. They can still deal with it, but it's harder, I would imagine. Whereas if they've got you stuck in a totally set up scenario where every day they know you're going to go into a similar shop, walk a similar route. They've got it. Then they've really got you totally under their thing. In fact, that's interesting too, because I now see how this matrix works just at a personal level, because I see it, because I'm dealing with it. So then, even if they've got you to where they know where you're going, and they've got it all covered, shall we say, all bases covered, they still don't like it if, when you get onto the third base, you have a chat with the base man, the other one that's on the base. Even if it's only a 2-second word, they're like, "Oh, we know that didn't change the matrix, but we're going to cover that too. We'll prevent that." They're very much like that, because I've seen that in my own personal reality. And I could go into details about that and prove it, because there again, the proof is in the reality. The only difference is most people say, well, yeah, what you say is true, that is happening in reality, but is it related to you and other human beings? That's the only discrepancy for most people. They'd say, oh, yeah, we can see what you're saying. Yes, all these things are happening, but it's not because of what you say. It's not because of wanting to disconnect human beings, because there are human beings everywhere and they matter not. They don't have any power. Well, that's where I say, no, they are not everywhere. They're in limited numbers. And if they connect, they do have influence on the matrix. But most people wouldn't believe that, you see. That's the only difference. But I know it's true, because otherwise, why are inconsequential human beings being put in this position? I know there are other reasons too. I realise that. I realise that, but at the same time, even if you're using something, even if you're just using, like for instance, even if, how they actually ask you to, they actually have been asking on the internet for people to put their vocabulary in there and their words and things. And young people will do that, because this kind of technical matrix still likes that human way that humans talk. Like even a muddled up bungler like me, they might still like the fact that I use a certain word. They might say, oh, right, we know that word's in the dictionary and we know it can be used, but because she's human and she used it, that means then that is going to connect more with the other real humans. So we'll use that word. So they have to copy, they have to imitate, you know what I mean? To be real, you see, that's what I'm saying. That's how I see it now, because otherwise I'm like, hey, I don't do anything particularly spectacular. And even if I say a certain word or something, it's in the dictionary, it's always been there. People used to use it quite commonly years and years ago. But you see, some of this technical stuff, because they want the demigods to appear to be very, very, very human, because they're really demigods, you see. They're not really like the same as us, because humans still like to relate to other humans. Until humans can be convinced to relate to something that is not human, which no doubt could happen, because like I say, plenty of people will get a blow-up dummy in substitute for a personal relationship, but not many. But if that became the norm, if people become more accepting of something that's more artificial and see it as a benefit, that can happen. So that's the whole idea. And we don't actually know that we're actually interacting every day, as I didn't, with what we think are just superior human beings, but are really not human beings at all. They are technical demigods of the matrix. There's a big difference. Yes, they're more impressive. Yes, they appear to be more talented. Yes, they appear to be more creative. Yes, they appear to know more. Yes, they appear to have inside information that a real human couldn't possibly really know. Not unless it's thrown in your face like it is myself. I haven't just had revelations. My revelations come from personal experience. I have to experience it in a physical, real way first, and then I say, oh, okay, that person is definitely a psychopath. That is not normal, the way that person behaves and the way that person treats you and interacts with you. That is psychopathic. Might take you a long time to actually accept it if you don't want to. Like I say, if you don't want to accept these things, as you don't. Look at the little cat there. It's very hard to accept. Look at it with its little head curled up in its little face like that. That is so sweet. Isn't it? Like I say, it's hard to accept. And many people, including myself, if the Matrix wasn't really negative and destructive towards me, I'd probably go on in my delusion of totally believing that this is 100% the original real. I would be happy to do that. I would do it. So I would actually openly admit to you that I would be happy to live in a slight world of illusion or under cognitive dissonance, if you like, because it would keep me content and I could then go on living. But I'm not allowed to go on living, so I had to face the Matrix and its technical reality on a daily basis. So, yes, it is still hard to accept that the one, what you think is life or real life or original life is not, because you grasp, some of you, no doubt, are like me, looking for, now because you know that it is rare and not what you think is all around you, you're desperately looking for a real life. That sounds ridiculous, I know, but that's what you are. So it is actually difficult to accept that final straw, as they say, that final straw that breaks the camel's back, to accept that everything has been taken over. He's certainly taken over my seat anyway, hasn't he? I know that's a bit of wit, and there's nothing really witty in it, but they've taken over in every way. And look at my place. It's taken over, by, admittedly, they are, I was about to say, suppressed animals in a way as well, even though they've taken over my place, I don't know what I'm talking about here. I'm getting, but it's a bit dark there, and I'm showing a bit of mess. But see, all these bags and things that are around, they're all bags of dog food. See there? I know it looks all messy. The reason there's all plastic bags everywhere and bits of paper towels and real towels and all this, that's because you have to be continually cleaning up the animals, using the place as an indoor toilet. So that's why there is all this stuff hanging up around, because I have to grab a towel and then it's filled and then you have to wash it. So it's a continual clean-up program, and then the place never looks clean anyway. Not that I'm very good at that anyway. I was never someone that was mopping the floors every day anyway. But now with all this added animal predicament, the floors not only don't look, they always looked a little bit scruffy. That was just from me. But, I'm not doing the same activities as them on the floor. But that's just the reality. And I'm not saying that for sympathy. I'm saying that's a Matrix reality. That's just another way that the Matrix keeps you occupied and under control. It's just one element. That's got nothing to do with the light and sound show infiltration and the mind control the people control. When I say the people control, I mean people controlling you, people of the matrix controlling you, one way or another, whether it be in a personal level, if you have personal people that are close to you that can't be avoided, and you do try. Of course, if people are close to you, you are trying, I think, to understand what the real thing is. A bit like in The Innocents, where the governess is trying to force the dark, very powerful spirit out from the boy. Like she's assuming that she can do that because she has an attachment to the boy. She's filmed an attachment. She has this. That was almost a weakness in a way, but at the same time, she was trying to understand how she could do it, what the real situation was. Unfortunately, like myself, she didn't fully understand the full situation. She got it right. She understood more than what she was meant to and more than what she even wanted to know, but she needed to know because she wanted to bring them back to life or back to what they were meant to be, But, it's not always possible to break through or to communicate with those of the matrix or possessed people. In fact, it's almost impossible. And in fact, their whole goal is to confuse and to bring you down. So while you're trying to bring them out and up, they're trying to bring you down. So it's a real battle even at a personal level, and then at a street level, you've got the whole matrix around you. So all these things. And then you've got the animals. So if it was just one or two things, you might be able to actually get on top. But because it's now the end of things, that's why I say it is the end, because everything is coming down. Everything is trying to entrap the human being and cause them great problems and great distress and great limitation in every way. Any way the matrix can limit you, it will. And it's really going out full force, because if it can't limit you, it will always limit you a certain amount, as it does me. In fact, sometimes it will bring you right down to where you're totally limited. But it's amazing because it still sometimes is not enough, because you see this happening. But then again, they are running against the clock, I think. So when you're running against the clock, you get desperate and you have to escalate the time. That's what I think. That's how it looks to me, the matrix kind of trying to rev things up, just as the cars rev up, to bring about closure quicker. Before, the remaining humans that are in the dark see the reality, or at least see some of the reality. You don't even have to see the whole thing. I'm not sure if I see the whole thing. But even if you see a certain amount of it and you realise that there's negativity directed directly against you as a personal human being and that you have importance that way, even if you see it just at a social level, that will still affect you personally, as is happening now. You might just wake up to that reality that it is a personal suppression of human beings. And that is what is really taking place, because that is the goal of the matrix, because that is the whole thing, really, if you look at it. That was something I realised early on, because I had to realise that, because I'm like, why would this be happening to people that don't seem to matter? As I've said videos and videos ago, that was what got me eventually. At some point you could say, oh, this is just some people that want to get rid of you for different reasons. You could even say, oh, it's you don't matter at all. They just want to bring the population down, almost something silly like that. But then you sort of say, no, that can't be the case, because otherwise why are they draining and playing you and if you can get rid of something and you choose not to, but you still bring that person down to where they wish that they weren't here, that shows you that there's something else going on. That was how I realised it. because I just used common sense and said, hey, if you can get rid of something and you really don't like it, why wouldn't you? And you can do it without having any problems. You can get away with it, and you would do that, wouldn't you? If I don't want that cup on the table, I can throw it in the bin. But if that cup is somehow a benefit to me, even though I don't like it, and I will eventually put it in the bin, if I'm playing for time and I just leave it there like I have, like the cup. I don't know why I'm showing the cup. I must be out of my mind showing a cup. But, that's because I want to get rid of it, and I know I will get rid of it. But it's useful to me at the moment while it's sitting on the cup. I can get another drink out of it. While I can still get a drink out of it, I'm going to leave it there. When I can't get any more drinks out of it, then I'll throw it in the bin. It's kind of like that. That was rather flowery of me, I thought, but that's, you've got to use what's around you. Humans can do that. We tend to do that. The Matrix doesn't do that as much, I don't think. That's what I think. That's why, we're still here, I think. Because it thinks a different way and it sees things a different way. But if it combines with human thought, that just adds something more to it that they don't have. And the dog moved when I said that. And I think I've made that point before, but I don't think I make it very well. I don't make it clearly or in the right way. No doubt I'll turn the TV on and a demigod of the Matrix or anything that is technical. I know that I look as though I'm technical too because I'm talking into a mobile and making a video. But I'm not a technical being of the Matrix. What I'm saying is just what I experience, whereas they are not saying what they experience. They are saying what human beings experience. They're programmed disciples of the Matrix. It's a different thing. But they look the same as me or you or someone else and probably look better and do it better, because they're not suppressed and harassed by the Matrix, They're wrapped in cotton wool and a pampered house cat as the great one of the Matrix. Or when I say great one, I've been told that it's a great genius of the Matrix because I was only told about this individual, about 2 years ago. I hadn't heard of them, and then I looked into them, and I heard them, as I said in the other video, I openly said, I only watched them for 5 minutes. That was enough for me. I said, why don't you think you know everything, why don't you listen to this genius of the Matrix? And I said, all right, I'll do that. I don't know everything at all. Of course I'll have a listen to this person. 5 minutes in, this actual genius, very well-known demigod genius of the Matrix, obviously I'm not mentioning their name. I could easily do that. It is not against anything, but I'm not going to do it. I could openly mention it. It'd be a bit like mentioning a celebrity. You can mention any celebrity you like by name. But either way, this person, just 5 minutes into this random interview that I just turned on, the first thing that come on the YouTube, an interview with this person, they're saying, I do not mind being a pampered house cat. They're openly telling you. They're like saying, oh, well, in this world, you can, I suppose they're like saying, oh, you can have some restrictions. Like, I would rather be a pampered house cat than a stray cat that's free on the street, more or less, that has nothing. Because even though this person actually comes across as though they almost rule the world, very influential, very powerful, very, very rich, all this sort of stuff. They're actually saying, I don't mind being a pampered house cat because they know that they are of the Matrix. So they're not really their own person. And they're not a person anyway because they're a technical being, a demigod. But, you get what I'm saying. And I actually turned it off after 5 minutes, and I said to the person after they'd recommend, I said, that person shows me just within 5 minutes what they are. And because I was starting to see things at this point, I wasn't like, I wasn't in the past where I'd be like, oh, that doesn't mean anything, you know. Because in the past that would have meant nothing. I'd have just thought, oh, it doesn't mean anything. In fact, most people were laughing at what this person was saying and didn't take any notice of them openly saying, they didn't actually say they were a pampered house cat. They said, I wouldn't mind being a pampered house cat. But that's the same thing, because they're not going to openly say, look, I work for and I am a demigod of the Matrix God and its matrix, No, because otherwise they wouldn't be seen as an individual genius, scientific mind, because this person does many things, but they obviously go into many fields and been highly successful. And their opinion of the world and their view on even technology is highly respected. And they seem to know an awful lot about the advanced technology too. That's right, they know because they are it. That's what it comes down to. And I knew this when I heard the pampered house cat, and I looked, and I'm like, but either way, I've gone on too long. I better fold up. Good night. And the cat, oh, look at the cat. He's fell right asleep there. He's got his head hanging over the side. Come round here. He stole and the dog is over there. Dog looks actually less comfy, but the dog's got, everything looks very grubby, but don't forget, dogs don't care if things are messy, grubby and untidy. They only know if something feels comfortable underneath them. And it's relatively clean, even though the dog messes it up and makes everything look terrible. But that's because, of what he's doing. So it's not like, that dog has had some of the best beds bought for him over the last couple of years. And even when they've been bought, someone said to me when I bought this really expensive one, I said, oh, dog won't be able to, mess that one up because that's made of this and that. And even if the dog sits on it all wrong, it can never be squashed down. Well, I'm going to tell you, that bed did not look anything like its original condition within a few months. In fact, eventually the whole thing had to be thrown away because it ended up down to just a bit of sponge, because every part was eventually discarded because it got broken. And it was almost, but I remember thinking that. It was a bit like where they say, oh, we're selling you a toy or something that has a life guarantee, that type of thing. That was like that. Well, the two dogs that my relatives had have both broken life guarantees on a few things. That's actually true because they told me this, so it's interesting. But why that is another thing. Oh, there's Pooty's gone. He's changed. He's gone. I'll say this, that's Big Boy Cat, and just before I fold up, but the original Big Boy Cat, and memory is a funny thing, but I'm pretty sure this cat, as you know, doesn't look as though it's exactly scrawny. But the original Big Boy Cat was bigger than this cat. Even though this cat is quite hefty if you go to lift him up, very dense like the Big Boy. But the Big Boy Cat was actually bigger in actual size. But that's not something that most people would notice. But I realise that now. Even his little feet were bigger than these, just slightly bigger. That's just pointing out. But that would be very hard to actually prove to an outsider without photos or without the person knowing the cat very intimately as I did. Because sometimes even, I could prove this too, even with the real, so-called real owners of the animals. I could actually prove that by an incident that happened with an animal many a year ago. But I won't go into that. But all I'm saying is that I didn't scrutinise the original cat myself, but I still did notice slight discrepancies at given moments. But I, dismissed them at the time because I'm like, oh, that can't be. I knew it was, but at the same time I'm like, must be me, must be got something. But then you say to yourself, but it isn't you, because you also know that, that, like I mentioned the mouth on the cat, and I could mention the cat just moves. See how he's moving when I said that? That's it. See how he's moving when I said that's an acknowledgement. You might say that's silly too, but that is because the cat was curled up and completely still there for the whole time that I haven't had the thing on him. That proves, that doesn't, I know that doesn't prove it to an outsider, but I know it. But either way, it's true, even if the cat's not acknowledging. It doesn't matter whether the cat acknowledges it, it is true. But this cat has openly acknowledged things to me when I have asked it, because it knows that I know. So it's like, it doesn't mind. It actually wants to be accepted for what it is, really. It wants to be accepted as an imitation under the pretext that you think that it may even be an improvement. See, that's how they think. And, that would be reasonable, I suppose. That would be reasonable for any species, I suppose, in a way. It's not something I'm going to go into, but obviously from my own perspective, now realising what has taken place in this reality, and it's not like I've had a choice with it. Because, see, I wouldn't have chosen that. It's been done underhandedly, behind my back, without my consent, as everything is done in the Matrix, without your consent. So it's not like I've chosen to substitute someone with a plastic blow-up doll or something, No. If I choose that, it's a different matter. That's my choice, and I'm not going to, say anything about that. And obviously there's a bit of a difference between a life form and,